Please rewind this cassette.
When a cute girl looks at you. Oh, hell yeah, look at that beam saber boner. By the way, Gundam Aether's team has to be like top 3 Gundam series. I mean, can we put it up there with like War in the Pocket and Zeta Gundam and so on? I know a lot of us 90s kids grew up on Gundam Wing, but yeah, I've seen this meme used before as an erection happening for other things, but I just thought I would share that with you guys. Isn't that adorable? All right, Box Office Addict 81. Annabelle comes home. Mama Annabelle's coming home. All right, let's break this shit down. Let me see the stuff that I can skip this week because I don't give a fuck about half of these movies. Oh, by the way, Jim Jarmusch, The Dead Don't Die. What a failure. Like one of his worst reviewed movies, and it's bombing. But what a great cast, though. What a waste of a cast. Adam Driver, Bill Murray, Tilda Swinton, Iggy Pop. Iggy fucking Pop? How often is Iggy Pop in a fucking movie? It's like Alice Cooper being in Prince of Darkness. Sign me the fuck up. Shaft has, well, in the Shaft. Dumbo. What a dumb idea. Let's look where Dark Phoenix is at. Dark Times indeed. This isn't even gonna make 100 million. How fucking embarrassing is that you made an X-Men movie and it can't break 100 million? Let's also break this down. 51% of its gross was an opening weekend, and this isn't a movie that opened at $200 million. So it opened 32 million and has only made 63 million. It's only doubled that after a few weeks. Not even at 300 million. Simon Kinberg just lost some major stock in Hollywood. Like, big time. Godzilla, not the king of monsters. Quite the opposite. $47 million opening weekend is at $106 million with a $170 million budget. Continues to be a summer of disappointments and bombs and disasters. Internationally, this is doing okay. I think if it had another $100 million on that, this would look a lot better. It was around $500 million worldwide. Basically, with the budget like that, with marketing, $400 million does not cut it. That's Alita Battle Angel numbers. Just not good enough. Now, the film that is doing very well is John Wick 3, and it did pass 300 million, which I said last week it was obviously going to do, and it was at 291. 161 million domestic. What a fucking total that is. Congratulations to Keanu Reeves, by the way, who is a movie star again. Completely a movie star, an icon, as he should have remained. Just a lot of bad luck. $56 million opening weekend, higher than the other two. The budget's higher on this, though, $75 million, which is a crazy jump from the $40 million. We went from $20 million to $40 million to $75 million, which I'm assuming has a lot to do with Keanu getting a bigger paycheck, Halle Berry, the director, good old Chad. Chad probably got a better paycheck. But still, this should end up near 170 million, and it's already made over 300 million worldwide. John Wick 4 is coming. There's supposedly a TV series. So what a successful franchise this has been. And it's so beautiful to see it because you think about that first movie and how it was a modest success, but a lot of us loved it, and there was really positive word of mouth. And seeing that turn into a full-blown franchise that they've kept it, pretty modestly budgeted. So kudos to them. Great marketing on these films as well. Rocket Man continues to do solid business, if not great business. I love this movie. I wish it had done better. 84 mil domestic. Should be able to reach 90 million, which is a fine total. Not anywhere near Bohemian Rhapsody, though, which does show the difference that we are in a dip. Because last year, all of these movies overperformed, including Bohemian Rhapsody. All sorts of movies overperformed. And this year, a bunch of movies are underperforming. I think if this had come out a year or two ago, this would have made 300 million. But if it could make 200 million, it's not a bomb by any means. Child's Play had a huge drop, 70%. Is at 23 million with its $10 million budget. I would say this is a disappointment considering other horror remakes have done so much better. Disney's still trying to pass Avatar. They did the wide release, re-release of Avengers Endgame. Only brought in 5.5 million. The film is still like 23 million away from passing Avatar. Its international run is pretty much over. And it could still do it. I still think it's very possible it's going to do it, especially with this re-release. But at the end of the day, I still see this reaching like 2,780,000,000. I mean, it's gonna get very close, but Disney wants that. Now they say the re-release was planned already, before they were even going for the Avatar record. But even so, who wants to go see the movie just to see like a Spider-Man Far From Home clip and a fucking extra scene or two? Like, if anything, I think this movie needed some editing. I don't think it needed to add more shit. But still, incredible total. I mean, Jesus Christ, 2,764,000,000. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a phenomenal total. That domestic total is phenomenal. I mean, just look at Robert Downey Jr. here. Motherfucker, look at this run from Age of Ultron. And then worldwide, he's at, 14.5 billion, basically. So, what a successful career that guy has. I mean, he doesn't really have to have anything after this. And he's one of the biggest movie stars ever. Men in Black International continues to be a major bomb. There was an argument that this could reach 400 million on Deadline, I remember a week ago, and I was just laughing at these idiots who somehow thought, this film's not even going to make 100 mil domestic. And it's like, well, it'll make 400 million. Its international numbers are solid. They're solid, but you knew the drops were going to be significant. I don't know how you couldn't see that. The word of mouth is not good in this movie. Also, Chris Hemsworth is box office poison if he is not playing Thor. Let me say that again. Chris Hemsworth is box office poison if he is not playing Thor. So 65 mil domestic, 219 million worldwide. It's hard not to compare this to Ghostbusters. Very similar. It's less. There's less bullshit politics involved, but from a financial standpoint, The Secret Life of Pets 2 continues to be nowhere near as successful as the first one. That first one made like 375 million. It was the most profitable film of the year it came out. 131 mil domestic, 223 million worldwide. Now, having said that, this is Illumination. The films are always budgeted very well, so it's still a successful movie. But the first film made like $900 million, so what a big drop-off. Aladdin is now Will Smith's biggest film. Obviously not adjusted for ticket inflation, but we don't need to bring that up every time. $183 million budget, 305 mil domestic. This is now on par with The Jungle Book. It's not quite up to Beauty and the Beast numbers, although I think The Lion King will reach that. If you look at Will Smith here, Suicide Squad, which he's a supporting character, 325 million. This movie, 300 million. So really, Will Smith his career's back. I mean, maybe not as a leading man. After Earth bombed, Focus just did okay. Collateral Beauty kind of came and went. Winter's Tale, it's better not to even bring that up. But really, if you look here, and Concussion bombed, 2 movies that made $300 million domestic. So, Will Smith isn't going anywhere. There was this idea Will Smith's career was over. I even made a video, like, what happened to Will Smith. But worldwide, this is past Independence Day. It should pass 900 million. I don't know if it'll make $1 billion. But the word of mouth has been great on this. Of course, Aladdin was going to make money. So, if you just look here, Will Smith, 2 of his biggest movies came out in the last few years. Which, once again, I admit, he's not the lead. He's not the one that's selling this movie, like when I Am Legend came out, or Hancock. But, he's finding work in supporting roles in successful movies. He's still a movie star. And Aladdin's just done very well. Guy Ritchie, I don't think deserves a lot of the credit for this, by the way. Yesterday overperformed. Yesterday did very well. I'll say this movie had good marketing. Its premise, while completely retarded, I think was sweet. And, Danny Boyle's a name. Richard Curtis is kind of a name. And also, they did very good with the budget here. $26 million is a tight budget. I do think people want rom-coms. I think Crazy Rich Asians prove that. I think the rom-com's making a comeback. Honestly, a $17 million opening weekend is about as good as they could have hoped for. That's really... I mean, also having the Beatles music catalog doesn't fucking hurt, but... Still, not a bad opening weekend. The movie should be able to make 50 mil domestic if the word of mouth is good. Maybe it could make 100 million worldwide. So this is not a bomb. It was a disappointment critically, for sure. And I don't think a lot of people are loving this movie, but it might connect with, normies in the mainstream. Let's talk about the box office Addict film of the week. Annabelle Comes Home. One of the first movies ever covered on Box Office Addict was the second Annabelle film. Or the third. How many fucking Annabelle movies are there? I don't even know. The one got good reviews. The guy who did, like, I think Lights Out made it, and then did Shazam. I think that one made like 300 million. This is the lowest opening. Annabelle was introduced in The Conjuring, which is my favorite part of that movie, is the first 10 minutes, and then I think everything else isn't as good as that. That little short film at the beginning is maybe the best thing James Wan's ever directed. It's everything he established with Saw and then kind of evolved it into something much more mature. And what I liked about it was like a reenactment. It was like Unsolved Mysteries. $20 million opening weekend, although this film did not open this weekend. 31 mil domestic so far. I think the other two was 37 million and 35 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going off memory here. Still, the Annabelle franchise is huge. Horror is huge right now. 47 million foreign. It's already made $78 million worldwide. I can't imagine the budget for this is higher than $15 million. Maybe this movie cost $20 million. I don't think it probably did. So this will make 200 million worldwide. I mean, that should be a lock with this franchise. And this one might not make 100 million like the previous Annabelle film, but I mean, it should still. Well, let's go check that. I thought there would be a link to the other Annabelle films. Well, let's just check it real quick. Okay, so the first Annabelle, it didn't make 100 million. Opened to 37 million. Wow, I was right. And 257 million worldwide. Annabelle Creation, which I covered. Maybe the first, maybe actually I'm wrong. Maybe the box office Addict I'm thinking about was Annabelle. Annabelle Creation, 102 million domestic, 306 million worldwide. And yes, it is David Sandberg who did Lights Out and Shazam. So, you know, and that one got good reviews. So yeah, this didn't open as well, but it's certainly not a bomb. What was the, let me go back 1 second. I'm sorry, I want to check the budget on that. 15 million was the budget for that, for the Annabelle Creation. So I'm assuming the budget for this is 20 million at the highest. So let's say 60, 70 mil domestic and over 200 million worldwide. So this is a very successful movie. They're probably going to milk this like most franchises until they get to the point that it opens like 8 million. Remember when Paranormal Activity and Saw was making money every time they released a new movie, and then it got to the point that they were just bombing? You know, we're not there yet with Annabelle, but give it time. I think we'll get to the point. I'm trying to see if I missed anything down here it's worth mentioning before we get to Toy Story. No. Now, to talk about the summer slump, Toy Story sort of solidifies this, because this is a movie with great reviews, even though most people thought the franchise was done a decade ago. No competition, really, except maybe Aladdin, but that had already came out and went. You have Disney, who's just got nothing but success for the most part over the last few years. I mean, look at Avengers and Aladdin. Those are both Disney. Look at those numbers. So Toy Story 4, the fact that it's underperforming. I mean, this is a smaller second weekend than Toy Story 3. That had a $59 million second weekend. This one's at $57 million. And this only opened 10 million higher. So the word of mouth isn't there. And you also got to think that was 10 years ago. And this is, you know, this is not doing Incredibles 2 numbers, obviously, Finding Dory. I don't think this will make 400 million domestic. I think it'll be a little under that. I do think it'll be the lowest grossing Toy Story film, even adjusted. Because if you actually look here, we can go, oh shit. I don't care about the director, Josh Cooley. But if you look here, the other Toy Story films, Toy Story 3, 480 million, Toy Story 2, 431, Toy Story 3, 95. I can't see this reaching that 395. This film cost 200 million. Having said that, though, this should make 350 million domestic. It's at 500 million worldwide. There's no reason to think this won't make 800 to $1 billion worldwide. I think it could be seen as a big disappointment, though, if it doesn't make $1 billion just because Toy Story 3 did that. You know, if this, I don't think they can settle for 800 million or 900 million. I really think this needed to make $1 billion. Just because of how big this franchise is. But even if it makes 850 million, it's going to be a huge profitable movie. It'll probably win the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. It's just, you know, this movie had everything going for it. I figured this would open to 140, 150 million, and I figured it would make 1.2 billion. I guess the biggest thing you got to point out here is just that maybe the marketing wasn't there. Maybe people weren't sold on Forky and this premise, and maybe people had moved on from Toy Story a little bit, you know? Especially the nostalgia factor. When Toy Story came out, I was 5, and when Toy Story 3 came out, I was like 20. You know, I'm going to be 30 next year, and I just, you know, maybe a lot of people have just moved on in their life. It's not as geared towards children. And, you know, people were waiting for a sequel to The Incredibles. I don't see Detective Pikachu on here. That's another one that everyone thought was going to make like $800 million, you know, and it made under 500 million. So that just shows this is not a big summer outside of Avengers, you know, and like Aladdin. A lot of other movies are not performing. You have a lot of bombs. You have a lot of disappointments, you know, and then little movies like Yesterday come and go. And even Annabelle opening less. You know, I think at a point it was, the argument was quality, but I don't know if we can necessarily argue quality at this point. But then you see something like John Wick 3 that's performing exactly what it, you know, where it should be. So I feel bad for Toy Story 4. I feel like this film could have done a little bit better, but it's hard to complain about a film making this kind of money anyway. It's not like this is a, I mean, it's still a huge movie. So it's so really the story of the weekend is that Yesterday surprised, Annabelle did solid, and Toy Story kind of solidifies where the summer's at right now. And maybe Spider-Man can bring us back home. And will Spider-Man cut into Toy Story's box office? That's the question. You know, Toy Story, these were the weekends it needed to make money. And on both of those fronts, I mean, a 52% drop is pretty steep for a Toy Story movie. Go back to Toy Story 3 real quick. Go down here. Okay, so Toy Story 3, if you look here, opened to 110 million, and then the second week it was 59, and then 30. Can Toy Story 4 do 30 million next week? And that's really the question. And I don't think it'll reach that 1 billion, 66 million of Toy Story 3. What a successful movie that was. Holy shit. God, incredible 608 million domestic total was just kind of crazy. But The Incredibles was always popular. So there you go. That's the weekend. That's where we're at. We have Spider-Man coming out. That's going to be big. And you know, kudos to WB with their horror franchises and how successful they've been. Kudos to Universal, who stays in the fight against Disney with Yesterday. But as you see, it's still a Disney World. And once again, Sony, with Chris Hemsworth and a franchise, has a bomb. So Sony hasn't learned much. Fox, which is now Disney, hasn't learned much. WB's doing all right, and Universal continues to do all right. Paramount, although WB also did Shaft, so there you go. But yeah, Annabelle, a very successful franchise, and I'm assuming they're gonna make another one. So yeah, thank you. I'll see you guys for Box Office Addict 82. We'll be talking about Spider-Man Far From Home, and I'm hoping to make that a live one. If you wonder why these haven't been live streams, it's been time issues that I haven't had time, and also my live streaming has not been working on YouTube, which I don't know if I lost the ability to live stream because of copyright, but they never sent me a message or anything like that. But for some reason, when I go to click stream, it doesn't work. And that's why I haven't been live streaming Box Office Addict. So I got to figure that out. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know if it's a glitch. So until then, it's just going to be videos. And this is kind of how Box Office Addict started. People forget the first box office coverage I did on this channel was just video. And that was always meant to be the format, and then it turned into a podcast show, a live stream where I just talked to you guys. But this was the classic Box Office Addict format from the beginning. And sometimes I think it's good to go back to it a little bit. That way I can keep making the show when I don't have the time to do a live stream. That does not mean the live streams are over. So if anyone's worried, no, I'm not ending Box Office Addict as a live show. I think this just solves a lot of problems. And maybe we'll only do live streams for the big movies, like Spider-Man. And weekends like this where nothing major happened, I don't really need to do a 2-hour show for you guys. But there is the Game of Thrones Season 8 review. Part 1 and Part 2 are being edited right now. I will be reviewing Stranger Things 3 once I watch the whole thing, once it, you know, debuts in a couple days. Well, a few days, like 3 days. And I hopefully can get a movie review or two in there. I'm hoping in July to get a few movie reviews, some series reviews, and, you know, get this channel to that 15,000 number. We're at 14,300. I want to get to 15,000 and hopefully 20,000 by the end of the year. But if you listen to this show, if you watch it, you're probably an addict yourself. And I encourage your addiction. Thank you for watching, and please rewind your VHS tapes before you bring them back to the goddamn store.